Good day, it's Lady Laima with your new moon ritual for May 22nd, 2020, an auspicious day of new beginnings. I would like to invite you to create a ritual today with having tea and poetry with me. I think I just lost my papers. Here we go. I've been ruminating quite a lot about what to do for this new moon ritual. And mostly because I have been going through immense grief over the pandemic and the loss of my God, yes, Father, and my dog nearing his end. And it's just become overwhelming for me, and an all-consuming focus on this deep grief. So I want to address that, and I've been pondering, ruminating about who could I turn to that could console my heart. And the answer came, Rumi, the poet Rumi, who created the Sufi order. And many years ago, I was initiated into 5 Sufi orders by a wonderful teacher. And since then, I've had many wonderful Sufi teachers. So that's the idea I have. We'll see how it goes. But I want you to make an altar for yourself, get some tea, light a candle, have some roses, and have tea and poetry with me. I'm going to read a little poetry, and I hope I can sing for you as well. I feel like poetry is what's going to get us through this next lap of the energies that are swirling around, which probably are going to get even more chaotic since we're entering a whole new phase of astrology with the sun and moon in Gemini right now. So we're entering into a whole multiverse and that could look like chaos. But I think poetry will help us to center and put meaning into it all. So I also want to tell you how it came about that I became initiated as into the Sufi orders. We're not really supposed to call ourselves Sufis because that indicates someone who has gone through the door and met the beloved and is one with the beloved. So on this path, we're actually called dervishes. And in that tradition of the whirling dervish, which I was also initiated into, the Mevlevis, they're the ones that whirl to the left in the direction of the planets. So the Sufi master actually found me at a time when I was in deep grief, and I had lost a lot. I decided I wasn't going to finish my master's degree at the University of Hawaii, and I came back to New Mexico. I was jobless and desolate, penniless, and camping on people's couches and wondering what my next step was going to be. And then I met my teacher. And the rest is kind of herstory. I'm still working as a dervish, and I still follow the path, because it's a path of mysticism and it's of the heart, of love. And so with this rumination I had around grief, I realized that who is the greatest teacher of grief as love? because actually grief is love. And that's how I came upon, oh, of course, it's been in front of me all this time. So it's been many years now that I've been on that path, and I intend to stay on that path because so far it's the best spiritual path that has served all aspects of my life and all of my emotions, and has helped me to bring focus into love as embracing the all, so that it can contain all of these swirling energies, which is also what the practice of whirling helps to achieve. So grab your cup of tea and have some tea and poetry with me. I have some roses here, which are also the symbol of love and very much the symbol of the path of Sufism. And so I'm going to read you some of Rumi's writing, because what happened for him is he met the love of his life, the deep, true master that he felt union with the beloved with in a mystical sense that he had not since achieved. And the students of Rumi probably murdered Shams of Tabriz, and it completely spiraled Rumi into a very, very deep grief, from which sprang the exquisite, ecstatic, deep poetry that we know of Rumi today. And as it also, he was circling around a pillar and moving in a spiral, whirling essentially, which is where the whirling came from. And all of this poetry started spouting from him as though he was filled with the divine spark of, I'm going to say, cosmic consciousness. And so we have that ecstatic poetry, but we also have the whirling practice. And when I was initiated into the Mevlevi whirling practice, I had deep experiences of going from agony to ecstasy to agony to ecstasy, and it just encompassed everything like I had never experienced before in my life. It was very deep and very meaningful. Maybe for the full moon I'll do some whirling. But anyway, we are going to be in this next phase going into the multitude, the multiverse of lots of things spiraling around us. So I'd like to read you a little bit of Rumi. He says, "Cry out all your grief, your disappointment. Say them in Farsi, then Greek. You are infinitely more alive. Say how that is." So if we can do this as a practice, then we can develop the skills of grieving, which are the gifts of deep listening, reflection, and the awakening to the sacred message of these ancient emotions for which we are wired in our finely tuned muscles and nerves. Bird wings. Your grief for what you've lost lifts a mirror up to where you are bravely working. Expecting the worst, you look, and instead, here's the joyful face you've been wanting to see. Your hand opens and closes, opens and closes. If it were always in a fist or always stretched open, you would be paralyzed. Your deepest presence is in every small contracting and expanding, the two as beautiful, balanced, and coordinated bird wings. So I'm sitting here in my garden, watching the birds and the butterflies, and hearing all the ambient noise, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So we want to be able to move into, a space of accepting our grief. I've been grieving so much about the loss of our elders and their stories, and I'm especially grieving for the loss of our First Nations, and hopefully that they don't go extinct. I also lost a sister when I was young, 17, and now we're dealing with all this mass death and terror and we're thinking, oh my God, will I be next? Or will someone I love be next? And this sense of sorrow and mourning is universal to all of us, and it fully needs its rightful place returned to our culture. So, let's see, I want to read you some more poetry because that's what we need right now to soothe us and also to express all the emotions that grief embraces. The anger, the terror, the confusion, the roller coaster of these emotions. We can pause to listen for the deeper message of precious meanings. A step toward your own heart is a step toward the beloved. In this house of mirrors, you see a lot of things. Rub your eyes. Only you exist. Okay. I think this night extends into eternity like a fire burning inside the friend, truly knowing this is what joy is, forgetting it is grief and a lack of courage. Life is ending. Goddess gives another. Admit the finite. Praise the infinite. Love is a spring submerged. Every separate drop, a whole new life. I placed one foot on the wide plain of death, and some grand immensity sounded on the emptiness. I have felt nothing ever like the wonder of that moment. And one more. I want to hold you close like the lute, so we can cry out with loving. Your body is away from me, but there is a window open from my heart to yours. Okay. So, have some tea and some poetry, and I'm going to sing you a song. I also became a teacher. I am a Sufi teacher, and I became a teacher of the Dances of Universal Peace. And I had a lot of great Sufi teachers in that tradition as well. And this song comes from that tradition. Those who love, loving, pour forth radiance. These are the sons and daughters of God. Those who love, loving, pour forth radiance. These are the sons and daughters of Goddess. In my lifetime, love in every heart. In my lifetime, peace, peace on earth. Happy new moon. Send me your poems. I want to see them and read them and feel them in my heart. Namaste. Blessed be.